This recording is a shir, a lesson in Lubavitch Chassidus, the Hasidic dimension of the Torah. It is being, and the subject of this shir, the lesson, is Gedulas Hashem, the infinite greatness of God. The lesson is being given on the Jewish day of the 25th of Cheshvan, the Jewish month of Cheshvan, in the year 5771, the English date corresponding to the month of November 2010. Is being given by Dovid Klein and is copyrighted by Dovid Klein. All rights are reserved. I'm just going to refer to my notes here and explaining a few basic points. The duration of the shir will probably not last a very long time. I estimate that it'll be relatively a brief shir, a brief lesson, and I'm just going to cover a few major points concerning this subject of the Gedulas Hashem, the infinite greatness of God. In Torah, specifically Chassidus, we referred to God as the Ein Sof Baruch Hu. Ein Sof Baruch Hu means that God is totally infinite and unlimited. Literally, Ein Sof means no end. And to put it in just plain simple language, no end, when you're referring to God, means, which really, in a sense, there's no beginning either. So that means to say that God is totally infinite. But when we say that God is totally infinite, it's not an infiniteness that that our usual everyday common notions of infiniteness. For example, in mathematics, there is a notion of infiniteness, but that's a theoretical and it's a theoretical and it's a conceptual concept, or not a conceptual concept, but a concept of infinity. That when we refer to mathematical infinity, it's not how we refer to God's infinity. I'm referring to my notes here. So, in Torah in general, and especially Chassidus, because Chassidus, and especially Lubavitch Chassidus, is the highest dimension in the Torah. And I'm not going to get into discussion right now of the various levels of the Torah, because that would take us off our subject, which is the infinite greatness of God, Gedulas Hashem. So, in Torah, especially Chassidus, there's a concept that you have to take things from the easier to the harder. The classical language of Chassidus is min hakal el hakaved, from the light to the heavy. And that's really true of everything in life, that everything has to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And So when you're first starting out anything in life, any kind of an undertaking, you have to first approach it from a very basic step-by-step level. And as you progress through the different stages of that thing, whatever it may be, you can reach higher, more advanced levels. And the same thing applies when you're referring to understanding the Gedulas Hashem, the infinite greatness of God, or really for that matter, anything in Torah. You first start on the most basic level, taking it step by step, and then you proceed from each step to a higher step. So getting back to the Ein Sof Baruch Hu, the which is translated as, in the most basic fashion, God may be blessed. It takes many years to come to a much higher understanding of just how infinite God is. But however high a person could reach with his own intellect in understanding the infinite greatness of God, since a person is a limited creation of God, that still is infinitesimally small compared to how infinite God really is. Because in another place in Chassidus it says, in the classical language of Hebrew, Lo et rames b'shum os v'kots, that God cannot be grasped by any limited concept. An os here would be a letter of the Torah, and a kots would be a line or a thorn on the Torah. And the Lubavitcher+Rebbe always said that Emunah, belief in God, by every single Jew is absolute and total and infinite. That even a Jew who has an average intellect, and it's more difficult for him to understand the higher, more advanced concepts of the Torah, and especially of Chassidus, he has just as powerful and just as infinite of an emunah, belief in God, as any other Jew, even the biggest Torah scholars. And one second, referring to my notes. So actually, the understanding of God and his greatness, his infiniteness, can be viewed by different levels and categories of different types of Jews, each on his own level. And just because a person has a higher understanding of the infiniteness of God than a person with a lower intellect or a less powerful intellect, it doesn't mean that the understanding of the infiniteness of God of a person with a less powerful intellect is any less valid than the person with the more high-powered intellect. And actually, there's a concept related to all of this that the Lubavitcher+Rebbe always referred to, and that is that in the etzem, the essence of every Jew, in the core and highest level of his neshama, of his soul, which is totally united with God, every Jew is absolutely the same as every other Jew. That actually the Jewish people is totally one entity. And when we say an entity, we don't mean an entity made up of different parts, divisible parts. We mean a total one entity. And getting back to the main subject of the shir, of the lesson, the infinite greatness of God, first I'd like to say that God fills up all of existence, all of reality. And that means we say that God is everywhere and he fills up everything. However, this physical world is a physical world exactly that, and it is a creation of God. However, 1 second, I have to pause for a moment.